In this episode, we'll be looking at news making headlines from the online business newspaper, The Brief.
Inflation is what we call the general increase in price level. We talk about the price of the oil and gas that we use.
And after that, we'll be diving into a discussion about the recently launched Cybersecurity Council by the Bank of Namibia and how it affects you.
Cybercrime has become more prevalent anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of The Business Brief, a brand new show on One Africa, where we focus on business news making headlines in the country and news worth knowing locally, regionally, and globally that affects the Namibian economy and you as a citizen. I'm your presenter, Morna Ikosa. In this episode, we'll be looking at news making headlines from the online business newspaper, The Brief. And after that, we'll be diving into a discussion about the recently launched Cybersecurity Council by the Bank of Namibia and how it affects you. Before we continue with the show, however, it's time for a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
Great deals from Choppies. Choppies, great deals for your money.
Welcome back. It's time to look at the business news making headlines in the online business newspaper, The Brief. One of the news stories in the online newspaper, The Brief, concerns the fact that the repo rate has gone up and inflation is on the rise as well. Joining me in the studio to talk about this development and what it means for you as a Namibian consumer is local economist Lamek Odada. Welcome to the studio, Lamek. So Lamek, tell me, first of all, what is inflation and how does that affect consumer buying behavior?
Oh, well, inflation is what we call the general increase in price level. We talk about the price of the oil and gas that we use, the price of bread, the price of anything or a service that is being offered. So when the prices keep on rising, generally, that's what we call inflation. So how does it affect a consumer? That's me and you. Remember, let's say 3 months back, the price of bread was $10. 3 months up, now bread is $15. So it means if you have $10 now, you can't afford bread. And that's the major impact of inflation.
Sure.
So when prices go up, generally, so you're paying more on electricity, you're paying more on petrol, you're paying more on bread, and you can't afford. Therefore, you need to start juggling what is important for you as a family, for you to be able to also survive within the general increase in the price level.
Oh, wow. So tell me then, the repo rate just went up recently. How are the two related, inflation and repo rate? And why is the repo rate increasingly going up? I haven't seen the repo rate increase so much in 1 year.
Of course, remember we've had COVID.
Okay.
Recently, we've got the war in Russia. All these things makes prices go up. For example, for you to get oil into Namibia, you have to pay more than what you were paying before COVID or before Russia invaded Ukraine. So what happens is the increase of the repo rate is a tool that is available for the Bank of Namibia as a central bank that could help stabilize inflation. How does that work? You go to a central bank, you borrow money. Where does the central bank get the money from? The commercial bank borrows from the central bank. So what happens here is there's the cost of you borrowing from a commercial bank. There's the cost of a commercial bank borrowing from a central bank. But now let's go back to what causes inflation. Inflation is being caused by one thing, demand. When there's high demand, prices go up.
Right.
Or a general increase in prices of goods and services means inflation. So what happens? The government, through the central bank, need to stop people from spending. That is, reduce the demand, therefore reduce the prices, and therefore we can have a flat rate of inflation. But it's not easy, because if the government does not increase the repo rate, how then? Because even the government is borrowing. How will they be able to repay their loans?
Right.
So it's what we call a spiral effect, that it covers so many things in one, and it's very complex to understand. But the basics of understanding is, if me and you demands a product, definitely the suppliers are going to increase their prices.
Correct.
So when they increase their prices, somebody who has increased the price of petrol, meaning the price of bread increases, because I have to pay more to transport the bread. That is what happens. So when the cost of producing a product, the raw material, or the wages of producing a product goes up, definitely I up my price. So this is what is happening. So what the government has to do, increase the repo rate so that you discourage people from spending, so
Right.
that you discourage people from demanding, and therefore the prices do not have to increase.
I see. Wow. That's very informative. So is there another way consumers can be protected from inflation apart from just increasing repo rate? And how can they fight this inflation? Because it just seems like it's a war that consumers are not able to fight.
Definitely, it's a very difficult thing to do, but we can look at it this way. We look at what causes inflation. We've spoken about an increase in production cost. Could the government subsidize the production of some local goods, like, let's say, vegetables, tomatoes, therefore their prices do not have to increase?
Right.
Or could the government provide them at a cheaper rate so that we don't have to buy from expensive shops, the pick and pays? That's one area. But the area of the increasing the repo rate, it's very difficult. Remember, commercial banks are borrowing. We are borrowing. Commercial banks are borrowing. The central bank is borrowing on behalf of the government. So it's difficult to say, but those are the only options I think of that could easily protect the consumers. For me and you, who are the consumers, the people who buy, we have one thing to do. We need to start thinking, could we just buy local brands which are more cheaper? Could we use things like loyalty programs, whereby buy less by 5% if you are a member? Things like that. Could we also try to renegotiate, for example, your bills with MTC, Telecom? Those are the issues that we could think about.
Wow. Okay. So tell me, are there other factors apart from Ukraine war that are really contributing to this high inflation rate?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Remember, there are things that we will have to do with them, whether the prices go up or not. Whether the prices goes up or not, whether the price of petrol goes up or it stays the same, you still have to drive your child to school, or you still have to put your child in a taxi. The taxi fare will go up. The electricity, the oil and gas. So there are some goods that we will not do without, and therefore we are forced to continue spending. And that's where you now start thinking. The bigger thing that the inflation will bring as a problem is that it will bring more level of poverty, because if I'm going to pay more, I will be thinking of, do I need my gardener? Can I do my gardening on my own? Do I need that house nanny? Can I save that $1,000 I'm giving them? And therefore, when these people get out of employment, we increase the level of unemployment. level of poverty. And remember, Namibia is one of the most equal countries in the world, so the level of inequality still increases. That is the major impact to the consumers.
So any last concluding words, just to give some hope to the consumers out there, is what else can we do? What else can government do really with regards to this?
It now becomes to where we start saying that you need to start checking your lifestyle, what you spend your money on. Do you, and the basics of economics, that the difference between a want and a need.
Sure.
So if it's a want, ignore it. If it's a need, you go for it. But even if it's a need, can you get a cheaper need? Can we also start thinking of getting local production? If you can have a small garden in your yard, you can produce your tomatoes there, your vegetables there. So definitely, but for the government, unfortunately, they could also try and reduce the prices of goods and services or offer them at a subsidized rate. But remember, we still just got out of COVID. We're still not yet out completely. So the government's hand is also tied, but we need to work together as a team to get a solution to this ever increasing repo rate.
This was really informative. I think there is a bright light at the end of the dark tunnel, and I'm really grateful that you came to really enlighten us today, Lamek.
Thank you.
We are now going for a quick commercial break, and when we return, we'll be talking about the recently launched Cybersecurity Council by the Bank of Namibia and how it impacts you.
When life gets busy, you can always rely on Gold TV to make things a little easier. Upgrade to the next package and we'll boost you to a higher package for free. Gold TV. Love it.
But if she thinks that our paths will not cross again, she's very mistaken.
You are this close to being the CEO of one of Namibia's most formidable companies.
You know, let's just say that ever since he put his foot in that company, everybody has been against him.
I'm pleased to announce the new CEO of Meet Expo.
Cybersecurity is a very important topic, and the Bank of Namibia recently launched the Cybersecurity Council. It's the first financial industry cybersecurity council in Namibia and was specifically set up to deal with risk associated with information leaks, security breaches, hacks, and other cybersecurity threats. This information is valuable to you as a consumer, as it provides you with information on how your bank will be empowered to protect you, amongst others, from bank-related cybersecurity crimes, which have become prevalent, especially after COVID-19 pandemic. Here to tell us more about the Cybersecurity Council, I'm joined in the studio by the Bank of Namibia's Director of Banking Supervision, Romeo Nel. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So Romeo, tell me, what is the role of Bank of Namibia in the financial sector?
The role of Bank of Namibia is actually very wide. It ranges from being a regulator to being the bank of government, making sure government payments are effectively dealt with, and also making payments outside of the country on behalf of government. And of course, also raising debt on behalf of government through our financial markets department. But as a regulator, we look at a lot of aspects in that space where we are the regulator of commercial banks, not only that, but also the regulator of payment systems, as well as making sure that the stability of the system at a macro level is always intact.
When you say stability of the micro level, what do you mean by that?
When I talk about stability at a macro level, I'm talking about at a level where things are very intertwined or interacted or interconnected.
Okay.
Say, for example, you will have connection between banks, your insurance entities, banks, your pension funds, and that relationship can sometimes have vulnerabilities in it.
Okay.
And through that, we have to make sure that as regulators, we have to identify those vulnerabilities and make sure that things don't go wrong there.
So, because you described a lot about you issues debt on behalf of the bank. So you're basically the bank for the government. Is that what you are?
Yes, we are the banker for government.
Okay, okay.
So we're actually doing a lot of things on behalf of government.
I see.
We are also issuing currency,
Okay.
the currency that normally is in circulation, currency that you have in your wallet.
Wow.
That's also what we do.
Okay. So tell me, there's been news around this whole cybersecurity council that was formed. Why now? Why did the Bank of Namibia felt it was necessary to have this council?
Well, this is actually been something that has been in the making for some time. Okay. I think the cybersecurity council and the launch thereof is just another step in the process. So what we have done over the years through the developments were our standard setter, which is the Basel Committee for Bank Regulators, have noted that the financial sector has become a big target. So a high-profile target such as banks, we needed to do something. So we've actually then developed a regulation in 2018 that we have rolled out to banks to make sure that banks' systems are secure, and that if those systems are targeted, that it can actually withstand such shocks.
Okay, maybe let me ask this question first. So, what is the purpose for the council? So what will this council be doing? What is really their role?
So the purpose of the council really is to be an information sharing platform.
Okay.
You know, if a particular financial institution is attacked, and if they know how they were attacked by cyber criminals, and they share how they were attacked, such information can actually help the others become proactive in not being attacked in the same way. I think over the years, like in 2016, we've seen the Central Bank of Bangladesh being attacked.
Okay.
They lost around $100 million US.
Sure.
But the actual amount that they were after was 1 billion. So if you look at that type of example, what we as central banks are now doing is that we are making sure that we are not attacked in a similar manner. So we are trying to get our house in order, our financial system in order, to actually be proactive, not to be attacked in a similar manner.
So just really trying to unpack cybersecurity and what it is. In layman terms, if someone had just to hear, when we say cybersecurity, what really is it? Is it, crimes like, phishing? Because, sometimes you get these dubious, we get always these warnings from our banks to say, please be sure not to give out your cards and so on. Is that what cybercrime is, or is it more than that?
Cybercrime has become more prevalent, and it has also evolved over the years. We've seen the likes of credit card information being gone after through. So all electronic transactions that you're doing are actually prone to some form of cybercrime or cyber attack. Okay. We can also call it hacking. So people will try and get, by all means, or especially criminals will try and get by all means access to your personal information or confidential information that you might have in your possession, because they can actually access your finances through those means. So what we have seen of late is phishing. Now, phishing happens through emails, and that's why it's always important, if you get a funny email from somebody that you don't know, or from an entity that you don't know, don't click on any links in such emails, because it could potentially be a trap for you to actually get access to your personal information.
That is insightful. Thank you, Romeo. So we're now going for a quick commercial break. And when we return, we'll continue our insightful discussion on the newly established Cybersecurity Council by the Bank of Namibia.
Got your feel-good vibes.
99 FM.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, we are talking about the newly established Cybersecurity Council that was launched by the Bank of Namibia and what this council means for you as a consumer. So Romeo, just tell us a little bit more. This council, how will it benefit the man on the street? So the guy who has read about this launch, what would it mean for him in the future?
Thank you for that question. How I can perhaps respond to it is that the impact for the guy on the street would be more indirect, because what we have seen that is prevalent with some of these crimes is that people are more after the financial institutions. They would try and get in there because I think the payoff or the payload would probably be better.
Of course.
So what we then see is that with this indirect impact, it will more have an impact on the financial institutions and of course then on stability within the system. You will have the potential that payments and transactions that you would want to effect in the system could actually be of no use. You could be locked out entirely out of your system.
Sure.
And you would find aspects like when you are attacked as an individual, that you can also not maybe access even your personal data.
Sure.
And those are some of the dangers that we have on that side.
So what cyber crimes are very prevalent in Namibia apart from phishing? I mean, that's the one we hear most about, but which other crimes are quite prevalent in Namibia?
What we have, we don't have the statistics of what happens nationally.
Okay.
That would probably sit more with the Ministry of Information and Technology.
Okay.
Or even with the likes of the communications regulator, CRAN. What we know is what happens primarily in the banking sector through the fraud statistics that we get from them, as well as the maybe the customer complaints that we get against banks. What we've seen is prevalent is also social engineering. We've seen it in the past years. It used to be cards that used to be challenged, where information and data were pursued on cards. We've seen that as things have evolved over the years, that through your social media platforms, people can get access to your information, your personal information, and actually use that to get access to your finances. What we've seen of late in the industry is more social engineering. Now that's a manipulation type of process, very similar to phishing, but they are also then through that manipulation enticing you to actually part with sensitive information or private information.
So tell me, social engineering, if you have to break down that term, is that like card cloning or?
Not really. It's where somebody would want to, through a lot of ways, get you to reveal either your PIN on your card, or reveal, other information by way they can access your finances. So if one can perhaps make a typical example, is that you find a random guy calling you up, saying, there were some changes that were made on your bank account, and you have to confirm the PIN for them. And through that means you are actually, believing that this person will make you believe that they are from a bank. You will actually then disclose your PIN to somebody whom not even the bank is aware of who they are. And that way they can actually get access to your information.
So Romeo, I don't know if you get these, it's these like shopping promotion thingies, and then you get that on your phone, you click it, and then it leads you through a whole rabbit trail. I don't know if you've been exposed to that. Is that type of, because it entices you to say if you click on this voucher, you get X amount of money, there's a promotion, and then you click on it, and then it now leads you to whole rabbit trails. And some people have claimed that their money has also been lost through that. Is that?
That could be one of the ways
social engineering.
People could actually entice you to reveal some of your information.
Okay.
It could be a form of social engineering, but it could also be a form of phishing, because what they will entice you to do is to click on a link to lead you to where you will actually have to disclose certain things.
Right. Yeah. So any last words that you want to tell our consumers out there, our viewers, with anything that we haven't touched on, perhaps?
Well, I think as last words, what I can say is that this is really something new that we've embarked upon, but also something very important and strategic in the bigger scheme of things, and as far as cybersecurity goes, because cybersecurity is so widespread worldwide that it can actually cripple financial systems, and therefore, we all need to come together in a collaborative approach to fight cyber criminals.
Wonderful. No, thank you so much, Romeo, for joining us in the studio, and it was really insightful. I learned a lot about the Cybersecurity Council and just all these cyber-related matters. And yeah, I hope that Namibians can really take these matters seriously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Romeo, for joining us today to talk about the newly launched Cybersecurity Council and really how it affects Namibians.
Thank you very much for having me.
And just before we conclude the show, let us have a look at the economic indicators. And that brings us to the end of this edition of the Business Brief. Thank you for watching. We trust that you found the conversation insightful. Till we see each other again, from me, Morna Kosa, it's goodbye for now.
You know, you're a young kid, right? For me, I started writing music when I was 9.
I don't like going into something See, when I came in the music industry, I didn't want to lose.